welcome back to another Sunday. We just moved my hair down here. Y'all know I like never come at y'all wearing tank tops, but I don't know where y'all at over here in Connecticut though. It is in the 90s. It has been in the 90s all week. It is 10:44 as I film this, and it's already almost 90 degrees. So we're in a tank top. If you hear any background noise, it's probably be the air conditioner. Typically, I go through all the hoopla, if you will, to make sure that I provide a good background for you all, good audio. But it's 90 some degrees, and I cannot be hot. I cannot be hot. So yeah, but I hope that everyone is. If you're in somewhere where it's really hot, I hope you are doing your best to stay cool. We are in another week of Shift Talk Sunday. As you all know, we used to be every week. Now we are every other week. Every other week gives me a chance in between to recharge and to rest a little bit and to allow my mind to come up with the next shift talk, right? Without feeling rushed or hurried. So we are every other week. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Shamar Latanya. I am an author, a faith-based speaker, a Christian life coach. I serve looks as well as I serve Jesus. That's new. And my whole goal is to help women walk in their divine purpose and calling as uniquely and as boldly as possible. That has become from someone who has a very unique voice and a very unique swag, if you will. I am very non-traditional, especially where the church is concerned. I have come to find out that my content is not made for church. Like, if you are already churched out, you're not going to enjoy my content. I do not make my content with the church in mind. Absolutely not. I make my content with thinking about the people who have always been told that they have to fit a box or fit a certain standard or look a certain way or talk a certain way in order to be used and in order for their calling to be powerful. And that's not true. The best way for you to be used and for your calling to be powerful is to be yourself at 100%. And will you change and grow over time? Of course you will. That is just that's a mark of being human. You should be changing and growing and maturing. But that's an organic process, not something that you are forced into. So this is your safe space. My YouTube is your safe space. My social media is your safe space. If you find that you're just so different and you're trying to figure out where you can go, it's with me. Come on over, pull up a seat. If you've already been here, you already know how I am. I'm real, honest, transparent. So let's jump into this week's Shift Talk Sunday, because I can feel the heat rising, okay? Now, this week's Shift Talk Sunday, it is called The Power of Me, Myself, and I. And I never thought that I would be doing a Shift Talk Sunday like this. I don't usually give you all disclaimers, but this week I will. The disclaimers are, please do not think that I am talking about any particular people or groups or anything like that, because I'm not. I have to put that out there because that'll get misconstrued easily. This definitely is not a woe is me kind of Shift Talk Sunday. I did a blog about this already. This is not a woe is me kind of deal at all. I have moved past that. In the beginning, it was definitely like a woe is me, but now I've moved past that. So it's not a woe is me. But what this is a reality of, I think that every leader has reached a point, or in the beginning, it was just them. It was just them and their vision. That's what this is. And if you don't know what this looks like, then you can easily feel like no one's in my corner, everyone is against me, no one supports me. It can be misconstrued as that quite easily. But that's not necessarily the case. The reality is, sometimes with a vision that is really great, with the vision that you have been called to, there are times where you will be called to walk the journey alone. And even if you have people around you, no one's really going to understand your vision because it's your vision, right? You pray that you get people that will love you and understand you, and they want you to win, so they're going to help you. But for the most part, this is all going to be you. And that was new for me. And here's why. When I first came out as an entrepreneur, I had no idea what I was doing. I had spent, a good chunk of time behind the scenes, just getting to know people, being around people, not realizing that God was placing me in position for entrepreneurship. Sometimes, and this is going off topic definitely, but sometimes you have to understand that the positions that you're in, the circles that you're in, you may not always understand why you're there, but you are being put in position. Um, so I spent years just, around being surrounded by women entrepreneurs, being surrounded by being a part of different groups. And when it was my time to come out as an entrepreneur, I had a high measure of support. Like, it was incredible. And I really didn't struggle with much in the beginning as an entrepreneur, in all honesty. If I have to be honest, the struggle came a little bit later and sometimes right now. But in the beginning, I really didn't struggle as much as an entrepreneur. I didn't have the stories of how hard it was because I had such a good network of people that jumped in. When I became an entrepreneur, when I came out here, I do not think that I was walking in purpose fully. I believe that I was walking in purpose somewhat. My job when I first came out was to help women starting over, coming out of divorce, because that's what I was doing. I was starting over after divorce, but that was not my purpose or calling. That was easier for me to navigate. It was not my purpose or calling. What I'm doing now is how I should have come out years ago. But it took me a lot of maturing to get there. So I come out and I don't have the same kind of struggle story. I pretty much come out and I take off. I'm laid off, so I go full time with my business as a coach and as an author. I'm traveling with, doing book talks and speaking. And within 6 months, I pretty much had my first couple of clients. Within 6 months of start going full time. I think I got maybe one eviction notice, like one notice to quit in the entire time. And I figured that out super quickly. I worked part-time, but even then I started pulling in so much money quickly that I didn't even have to work part-time for long. So I was able to run forward with this business. Now, granted, there was a lot of sleepless nights and there was a lot of sacrifice, sure, a lot of investment, but ultimately I did very well. Um, so I had this network of support and it was absolutely great. And the support came from everywhere and it was amazing. And we went that way for years. I went that way for years. I saw a lot of success. I was invited to be part of Forbes for the culture, speaking different places, traveling on different in and out of airports. And it was great nonetheless. And it still is. But what I did not realize was that eventually there would be a time of reckoning where I'm not really moving in my purpose at 100%. I am talking about starting over after divorce, but really, when you put yourself in a box like that, that's part of my story. It's not my whole story. And eventually I started to get really tired of talking about my divorce. Like, I was over it. I have healed from it. I'm past it. I got so sick and tired of talking about my divorce. And when you're an entrepreneur doing this, you have to have a story to tell. I got so tired of telling that story because it wasn't who I was anymore. And it was time for me to grow. And also, I really wanted to get to the point where I was making more higher end contracts and higher end money. So those are things that I started to place myself in positions to do. Now, what I did not realize was that I would end up going into probably one of the worst years of my life. My entire family almost dies, and I mean that quite literally, quite literally. Like, my father is hospitalized in intensive care. Like, we don't know if he's going to make it. 2 weeks later, my mother has an accident. She's in the hospital. 2 weeks later, my brother is hit head on by a truck. He was in medically induced coma for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, 1 week later, my daughter has COVID really bad. Like, literally, father, mother, brother's daughter. And so that summer ended up being one of the worst summers of my entire life. Like, traveling back and forth from Connecticut to Georgia to be with my brother and my mother while he's in this neuro rehab. He's got half a skull, and then coming back home, watching my daughter graduate. That was great. Then heading back to Maryland to help look at home care providers with my mother, make sure my mother is okay. And I had this moment where I just laid on her floor in a fetal position and just was in tears. Because now around this time, I am losing all my clients. I still have my coaching program, but that's dropping, that's going lower, and I don't really know what's going on. What I did not know was that there was a shifting that was about to start. And I end up like, okay, I said I'm going back to work. not realizing that I was moving into a greater purpose. I ended up, long story short, I ended up getting the contracts that I've always wanted, contracting out with larger companies that need coaches. So now I've got corporate coaching contracts, and these are my contracts. So I'm putting the contracts together, working with my lawyer, negotiating with the company, they're signing, it's all going great. Um, and we're at this position where money is flowing in from all angles, and it's great all over again. And then I go into sabbatical because by this time I'm, for a few different reasons, I'm tired. I have been hustling for, at that point, 4 years straight on my own, and I still am. But now that I'm at the point where money is no longer a concern, it was time for me to take a break. Like, I needed to breathe a little bit. I needed to know what it was like to live my life without trying to get the next sale or getting the right post to pull in the right people. I need to know what that was like. So I went on sabbatical, and during this sabbatical is when the idea came for the rebrand. Not even the idea. And I know everyone has issues about a rebrand. Let me tell you something. If you have to rebrand, rebrand. Because if you came out as something that you're not, and you're ready to come out as who you are, then you have to. So I go on sabbatical, which then turns into a rebrand. Because I realize that I'm in the position now where I don't have to do what's quick and easy, money. I can do what's meaningful content. I can do what's meaningful to me. So I take a step back. I shut down all social media for like a good 2 months. I get a new coach. We're reworking the message, and it was the best time of my life, in all honesty. And to this day, I still disdain the thoughts of having to use social media to bring people in and having to be prevalent on social media in order to be. I disdain it. It is giving cool people club to me. Like, in order to be relevant, I've got to be at the top. And in order to be relevant, I've got to be in with the cool people and fit in with the crowd. It's getting on my nerves. Social media is working my nerves. Okay? So, I don't know where that came from, but it really is. Like, it really is. But, and mainly because I've never been one to fit in. Even in high school, I've never been part of the cool people. I've never been part of it. But anyways, so I come back out, and the support is much different, and I am pretty much on my own. I didn't realize at the time how many of my friendships or relationships were built only on business. That was very naive of me. A lot of my friendships in my relationship that I had them. They were there as long as I feel like as long as I was part of an inner circle, or as long as I was always at the top of somebody's feed. When I went away, what I did not expect was, so would all of my other relationships. It was naive of me to think that relationships that were founded in business would move into something more personal. Sometimes they do, but I have found that a lot of times they do not. It was weird for me to try and navigate this new world without my normal crutches. Not realizing that when I removed the crutches to navigate this new world, this new message, coming out as 100% myself finally, what I did not realize was I really would be walking this by myself. I would no longer have the support that I once had. I would no longer have the same people in my corner. I would not really have anybody in my corner. And I think what gets me the most is I get messages every once in a while like, oh, we see you, we're still in your corner, but it's like, where though? And at this point, I'm mature enough to know that, I don't have to require anything from anybody, right? But it definitely was it made me think, did I do something wrong? Like, am I just not popping anymore? Like, is there something wrong with me? And then I started looking at other coaches who kind of alluded to that point. Like, unless you're posting 3 times a day, unless you're posting consistently, then you're not this, and you're not the greatest of all time. You're not the GOAT. You're not. Can I tell you something? Entrepreneurship is a long game. Don't let anyone rush you into doing anything before you're ready. It's the long game with entrepreneurship. A lot of times these coaches are posting that because they want to hurry you into buying and into investing in them, which is fine. But don't let what they say make you feel like you're not walking in purpose because you're taking your time. Okay? Because at the end of the day, they still have to sell their program. So in order to do that, it has to be a let me hurry and get you all in here and get you all to attach to me as quickly as possible. I know it because I've done it. So, um, so now I'm in this space of I don't know, I don't have the same. I feel I could not feel more left out. I'm watching everyone else support each other on social media and congratulate each other and be there for each other. And when I was once a part of that, now I'm no longer a part of that. Now I am. There's no one celebrating with me really. And I think what hurt me the most was a lot of these people that I'm watching were people that I helped and people that I mentored and people that I coached. And it was just like, it just, it was the most to watch them support each other and come up with each other and support each other, but treat me like I didn't exist. It was difficult. It was a difficult time. But what I realized was, and this is what you have to realize, when you're starting over like that, if you're going to shift in one area of your life, typically a shifting happens in all areas of your life. Because not only did things shift online with the support and the network that I thought I had that I no longer had, but things began to shift in my personal life as well. Relationships there begin to change. I didn't know where I stood with anybody anymore. If you're going to shift in one area, typically you're going to shift in all areas. So there's this feeling of, bro, I am by myself and I don't deserve this, because I would give anything to anyone who ever needed it. And now I'm in the point where no one's doing that for me. That is insane. But you're in good company. Because the reality is, what we're not taking into account is you shifted into somebody new. Who you were then is not who you are now. Which means that a lot of things in relationships and things that you were a part of then may not fit who you are now. And yes, it hurts. And yes, it sucks. But it is a part of the shift. And also what we have to realize is when you are in the business of people, being in the business of people is a very thankless job anyway. 9 times out of 10, you will build somebody up to their greatest level, and they will thank you, but they will not acknowledge you anymore. They will not say, oh, how did you get here? Oh, I had this really great mentor named, whatever, and she helped me. I had to learn that the hard way. And that's not to take away. I do have some that will. My girl, Mary Alajowski, oh my God. There's not a day that goes by that she doesn't say, I'm here because of my mentor. Absolutely love her. I've got some really great people that will say, nah, man, Shamara worked with me. So I don't want to take away from that, okay? I don't want to make it seem like I have, everyone just left. But it was just a different time. It was new for me. And if you're in this position, you have to understand that you've shifted into a new person. So everything's going to be new. Some things will remain the same, and that's great. But for the most part, everything changes. You have to think about, it's giving very much when Moses went back to Egypt. When Moses was, come on now. When Moses was in Egypt, everyone knew him as one person and one thing. And he knew himself as that. And then found himself out to be something totally different. So Moses had to leave what he thought he knew, or he was banished, and go into this wilderness and refine himself and refine his message. Albeit he didn't want to, but he did, right? And then he had to go back. And when he went back, he was totally different. He was a different person with a different message, a different look. And the people that were once in his corner were not anymore. He had to reach a brand new set of people. So I can imagine how lonely it feels to go back to a place that you thought you knew and you realize you don't have the same relationships at all anymore. And yes, you have people around you, but really this is just you and the calling that you've been given. So you're in good company. He had to do that because there were a new set of people that he had to reach. 9 times out of 10, when you shift like this, there's a new set of people that you have to reach. Or I would go so far as to say it's people that you were supposed to have reached before, but you didn't because, like me, you weren't really walking in the fullness of your calling. Um, and the people that he loved, that he was intimate, he had these intimate relationships with, we're no longer his people. Now, biblically, we don't go into the mental of how that is, but we know that that hurts. We know that that is paralyzing at times. We know that makes you feel like you don't want to move on. We know that makes you feel like, did I even do the right thing? We know that makes you feel like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Give me a basic living, give me a basic life, and let me just keep it pushing. But when you're not called for basic, you're never gonna be happy. So just don't do the whole basic thing. You're not gonna be happy doing it. If you're called for greater, you're not gonna be happy being basic. Just let's get that out of the way right now. Okay. And so he begins to navigate this new world. But what made Moses so great in having to go, not only did he have to go fearful, afraid, but he had to go alone. Yes, he had Aaron, but I mean, and Miriam and all of them, but I mean, they did not make that journey easy for him. You know what I mean? So he still had to pack up his fears and pack up the newness of who he was and go. It's the same with, it's also giving very much King David. When King David was in Saul's court, David was known as one thing, right? And then David had to go on the run. Really, he had to go off and find himself and be prepared for leadership and be prepared for his new journey. And when he came back, yes, he was welcomed back, but there were some relationships, like with his wife, Michal, there were some relationships that just weren't the same. Michal loved David before when he was one thing in Saul's court. When he came back as another, she couldn't stand him. And so that was his first wife. So now the relationship with his first wife is not, he went back for her. Now the relationship with his first wife is totally different. And it went bad. Like, it went bad. Like, she ain't have no children. We ain't never hear from her again. So, and he also lost relationships. Lost his best friend, Jonathan. It's also giving very much, if I can keep thinking, I mean, I can go on and on. It's giving very much Joseph. Joseph knew what he was going to end up doing. Joseph knew his calling, his purpose, told the wrong people, the people that were supposed to love him the most and support him out the gate, threw him into a pit and sold him off because they were so jealous of him. We don't know about Joseph's mental state in that time, but knowing what I know now, it hurts when the people that are supposed to be in your corner and love you get rid of you because they're because they don't believe in your purpose, your calling, or they're jealous. It's debilitating. It's hard to get up from. But we see that eventually, no matter what, Joseph stays consistent and he still becomes number 2 in Egypt. He still becomes leader, and the people that threw him off to the side end up bowing to him as he knew they would. And we really can go on and on about how leaders end up having to walk this road by themselves. I mean, and you have to it's to the point where if you can't connect with it biblically, a lot of people can't connect with Bible stories, and I think it's because we tend to give the fantastical part of the stories and not break it down to a human level, which we need to start doing. But if you can't connect with that, it is giving very much, when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, when a principal had me read that, and it's one of my favorite books and one of my favorite movies, but one of my favorite books overall, we can break down the other qualities of these leaders. That's not what I'm here for. But for the most part, Malcolm had grown past the people around him, and all of his relationships changed again. And we were able to see how that affected him, to watch his relationships change. And then he kept growing and kept evolving. And the people that he had grown with and who helped him grow were no longer his people. As a matter of fact, those were the very people that set him up. He had grown so much, and he had changed so much. He went off to Mecca. He had come back a brand new person with a brand new message, all over again. And once again, those relationships changed all over again. So, and now we're at this point where he's going to now navigate that, and he is literally by himself. Then we have people like Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, and we could just go on and on. These people who have these awesome callings, but really, though they had people around them, had to walk the majority of it by themselves. And when their time came, it was just them. But what all these people do have in common, from Moses to from Moses to Malcolm to Martin, what all you people have in common is this: they were consistent. The lack of support didn't stop them. The lack of whatever it was didn't get in their way. They were consistent. The hurt didn't stop them. They were consistent and they kept going. Whether people understood it or not, whether people believed in them or not, they kept going. And what also binds all these people together is they made history doing it. Now, I'm a big believer in when things change and when you lose, God replaces. I'm a big believer in that. I do not believe that we're meant to navigate fully on our own. But I do believe if I have to, just bring this Shift Talk Sunday into full circle, is that there is power in going alone for a little bit. There is power in removing all of the crutches and navigating as you're in the fullness of who you are. As much as I miss the camaraderie that I used to have, as much as I miss the love that I used to have, as much as I miss the support that I used to have, it forced me to sit down and come to terms with myself. It forced me to deal with me. And it forced me to really look at myself and say, is your message, or are you conforming to everything and everyone around you? And I do believe that in the beginning, I conformed to a certain extent. And that was powerful. So imagine how much more powerful it can be when you are doing 100% what you are called to do. So that where we get into the power of me, myself, and I is, it forces you to look at yourself. It forces you to look at your message. And it forces you to walk uniquely as you are called to, with your thoughts and your ideas and your messaging. And there is something very special about building something, laying the foundation on your own. Even some of my good friends who have these amazing organizations and these amazing programs, I remember meeting them in the beginning stages. A lot of times they were doing a lot of it on their own. And eventually God gave them the team that they needed. And that's what I'm excited about, to finally for God to give me the team that I need. But right now, it has been interesting navigating this by myself. So now, what am I learning that has made this so powerful? I have truly become comfortable with my voice and my style and the way that I do things, which is not like anybody else. Like, it really is not. I be thinking, honestly, they're like, God, what is wrong with me? I've come to understand that I am not traditional in the least bit, nor will I ever be traditional. I have come to understand that I would rather kick a box down than fit in it. I will fight tooth and nail against any box that anybody tries to put me in, versus letting someone put me in it. I will give up all this stuff that y'all see, licenses and whatnot. It can all go if it means that I have to become someone that I'm not. And that's the message that I have settled in, that I've become not comfortable in, but I know that that's me. That's my voice. And I pray that I can provide that kind of a safe space for everybody else. I've also learned to rely on my own power. I spent years not thinking that I was powerful enough or that I had any power in me because of the type of person that I am. I spent years thinking that because I'm not like this person or that person, maybe I'm not as powerful. I'm not as powerful as them. I'm as powerful as I'm meant to be. So when you make peace with yourself and begin to walk these journeys, these roads by yourself, these are things that you begin to understand your own unique power, how you implement that power. I've learned that when I'm working the altar or when I'm coaching someone, I've learned how I do it, how I've been called to do it. Typically, I can feel out what that person is feeling, and I know how to speak to that and pull that out and help them through that. I had to learn that I had to navigate a lot of this by myself in prayer and in studying and then in reading and in just becoming one with myself in order to know that. And it is the same with a lot of these people that we talk about. Their power came from them understanding who they were and what they learned and then pushing it out there. So I would say to you during this time of, yes, you may feel alone. Yes, you may feel like it's just you. But the beauty is you're building it in the way that God has you building it. It is you and God building this program out, building this life out in the way that you've been called to. And by the time other people come around, you've got such a solid foundation that now people are just adding to the value instead of you shifting who you are to fit them. They're coming into something that's already built, and they can add to that. They can add value. They can help. They can add input, but not change. The beauty in this me, myself, and I phase is that you're becoming more comfortable and confident in who you are and who you've been called to be, which means that now you can take opportunities that are meant for you and not just because. In the beginning, I think I took every opportunity just because I wanted to always be relevant, always be out there. Now, if it doesn't make sense to the brand, I don't do it. Now, if it's not a genuine connection, I don't do it. Now, if it's not genuine networking, I don't do it. It may seem naive to some business people, but the reality is I'm financially stable enough to be able to do that. So it is what it is. So yeah, so that me, myself, and I phase, I would really encourage you not to despise it, not to discount it, because that's a great stage for building and releasing and growing and learning. You can't truly and consistently free other people and help other people if you haven't been able to do it with yourself. And this is where we start doing it. So, also understand that in all these stories, whatever these people lost, it was replaced. 10 times over. These people went down in history. These people made history. These people became history. These people, a lot of these people were given new relationships and new marriages and children and money and stability. Good people always win in the long run. So that's the other thing that you have to hold on to. Good people always win. And as long as you are maintaining your integrity and your spirit and who you are, there's no way you're going to lose this thing. I personally have never seen God fail me. Never. So also understand that whatever you lose, God is going to replace 10 times over. And it's going to be better than what you lost. It's going to be better than the people that you lost. And you'll look up one day and see that life is beyond beautiful. Life is amazing to the point of, I cannot believe this is the life that I'm living. I remember just a couple of years ago, or even last year, I was crying about what I lost and feeling like no one was there for me and feeling like I had no support. And now I have this amazing full life, and I'm happy, and I'm loved, and I'm valued, and I'm able to give that. This time is a time for you to find who you are and what it is that you are called for and how you walk boldly and uniquely in that. I think I gave all my shift talk points during this, but it is what it is. We're going to take out shift talk points, okay? We're going to not do that because I be forgetting my points, so we're just not going to do that. We will do the shift talk challenges still, but we're not going to do that. So, this probably is one of my shortest videos. I believe so. Looks like it is. I don't know. We'll see. But I just wanted to, as I'm talking to more and more people, as newer relationships are building, the common thread I find in these newer relationships and these newer collaborations is a lot of people that I'm meeting felt like they had to do it all by themselves. And that's not a coincidence. And it's not always a bad thing. There have been many entrepreneurs on my timeline who haven't really collaborated much, but I've seen them, but they have taken off. And eventually they do as they go, but they have taken off. So the other disclaimer is, don't become a hermit. keep yourself open to opportunities, keep yourself open to collaborations, keep yourself open to networking, right? Because there will be a time for that. There will be a time and place where you would need to do that. But at least by that time, you're doing it in a more genuine way, in a more unique way, versus in a rush because I feel like I have to kind of way, right? All right, so let's get into the Ship Talk Challenge. What am I supposed to be doing during this time then? If I'm going to be spending this time alone, what is it that I'm going to do? What is it that I should be doing? And this is what, not a weekly challenge, it's more like an ongoing challenge, so we'll call it the Ship Talk Challenge. Like, this is what I would encourage you to do. This is what I did during this time. So let's roll the title card, and then let's, get into it. All right, so this is going to be a time of extreme self awareness for you. This is going to be a time of you have to be aware of what your body is feeling, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, why you're thinking that. This is going to be a heavy time of whys. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I thinking these things? This is going to be your time of, and I want you to write down these words: why and what. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I having these thoughts? What do I need to be doing? What do I really want to do? What do I really want to say? What thoughts are my thoughts? These are questions you should be writing down. What thoughts are not my thoughts? Why did I allow these thoughts to take hold of my mind? Why did I move in this particular way when I know I shouldn't have? What way do I want to move going forward? How do I want people to see me now? How do I want to see myself? And at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, am I going to be happy with who I was that day? This is a day-by-day thing. Every day there is a self-awareness of, did I live in the fullness of who I am today? These are all questions that you should be writing down and mulling over and thinking. I mean, I don't think I haven't journaled this much in quite a while. From last time I journaled this much is when I went through my divorce and I was like changing and growing. And now I'm journaling all over again because I needed to get the thoughts out of my head and onto paper. But you're going to be asking yourself a lot of what's and whys during this time period. And you're going to slow down just a little bit. Maybe not on your work, but you are going to slow down in your reactions, your responses, and how you implement things. Why? Because you want to make sure you're doing it from a place of genuineness, if that's a word. So a lot of times with my responses, when people ask me things or say things to me, whereas I typically used to have a very quick response, now I take a couple of seconds and I think. If I need more than that, I'll say, hey, can I get a little bit more time to think about this? When something happens, like when a lot of my relationships begin to change, instead of me being impulsive, like, oh, that's it, I will stop and think, okay, is this a relationship that I want to save? Do I talk to this person? How do I talk to this person? What do I say? Am I coming from a place of, if I'm coming from a place of hurt, I need to take a step back and wait a little bit. All things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. Like, I may be right in this, but I may need to wait to get it out the right way. You know what I mean? How do I want to navigate this? So whereas I used to impulsively just go off and do it, now I wait and I listen to my spirit. I listen to how I'm feeling. If I'm coming from a place of anger or hurt, I don't move. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be making these, what I'm saying is not going to be genuine, and what I'm doing is not going to be genuine. I wait till I get to a place of calmness before I say or do anything. So I don't regret it down the line, and so I can say, I did it the way I was supposed to do it. So that's what I mean when I say you may slow down a little bit. You may notice yourself slowing down just a little bit. I slow down in my speech a little bit. I'm still a fast talker, but I listen and I watch more than I talk these days. That way, when I do speak and when I do move, again, it's from a genuine place. It's from a place of, it's not from a place of hurt or trauma. It's from a place of healthy decision making. That's what me, myself, and I is good for. You learn how to make healthy decisions, not based and rooted in trauma or hurt or pain. That way I can say, if this relationship does go sideways, I did my very best and I maintained my integrity. If this business relationship does not work out, I did my best. I maintain my integrity. That is a really important thing to be able to say as you go day by day. No matter what, I did my best and I maintained my integrity and I made all my decisions from a place of honesty, integrity, and and uh, and genuine wants versus rush and impulsiveness. So these are things that you all want to start. You want to keep track of as you go about this new journey that you're on, and remind yourself daily that the point is to remain open to the new things that God brings into your life, the new people that God brings into your life. Do not let what you lost, and this is a really big key, do not let what you lost hurt you to the point where you can't accept love when it comes in or help when it comes in. Because if you are discerning from a place of trauma, then everyone's going to be against you. And that's just not the case. God will bring some people in your life to that will be in your corner. And I also want to remind you that just because people have left your life, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean that they came into your life to do you wrong. It does not mean that. People who tell you that are often operating from a place of their own trauma. What it means is that their part in your life just may be over. Okay? So, get the writing, get the journaling, and really begin to become aware of your decisions, what you're saying, and how you're moving as you go along this journey, and be ready and prepared for the greatness that you are still going to step into, because it's only me, myself, and I for a little while. And then it is my purpose, my calling, my people, my team, love, adventure. It's all these amazing things. So be open to it, be ready for it, and learn during this time. I will see you in 2 weeks for our next Shift Talk Sunday. Love you lots. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.